Hey guys, this is Grant Coombs III, aka Balbomb, coming to you for another video from CardRunners.com. In this video, we're going to be going over Markuis, our resident heads-up experts, play at 100 NL 6 max. Alright. Let me just click it back just a little bit here. I think that we called 7-5 on table 1 in position. Yeah, this is a little weak. I'm probably the last guy that should be saying something about this because I call with this in a lot of situations. One thing you definitely want to be making sure of when you are in these spots, though, is that if you're going to opt to make this bluff or to make this call, I want you to do it when players are quite passive behind you. If you have some really aggressive players behind you, this is just a really big mistake, and I'd much rather see them 3-bet it or fold than to call. But if you do have passive players behind you, take advantage of those passive players, and by all means, please be calling in the spot. I will say, by the way, I said at the beginning of the video that players are becoming more and more aggressive. That's certainly happening at my stakes and upper stakes, 500 Zoom, for example, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5, 10. But at 100 NL, these games, for the most part, very beatable and rather passive, guys. So definitely something to keep a lookout for. Once it's checked to us on table 1, I think it becomes a really easy bet here. I actually think this is a little bit big, to be honest. And I think you're going to be doing much better if you make that a half size. If you make that a half pot to maybe 60%. But that was just a little bit big. On this turn, it's sort of interesting. Ace-King should be at least somewhat part of his check calling range here. Additionally, having a king in your range doesn't make a ton of sense. Yeah, you're probably going to have King-Queen and King-Jack, but outside of that, and you're going to have sets, obviously, that you're betting here, but outside of that, I don't anticipate you really having anything that bets the turn. Very few players are going to be betting when they have, for example, 8-7 here for value again, even though they probably should be. We get snap called here on the turn. And now you can see the results. I think that probably shows you just about all you need to know about this line, that it just really isn't all that believable. But I think that snap call on the turn would at least let me think about pretty heavily triple barreling here. The problem, of course, becomes that this is just a really bad card to triple barrel, and now our only range are extremely strong hands. And a lot of kings would check back the flop as well. So you definitely need to be very worried about just going into triple barrel mode here when checked to, because I think a lot of players understand how weak their range actually looks when they check call the flop as the pre-flop raiser, and therefore are going to be really hesitant to be folding on the turn in the river. This same situation will happen a lot small blind versus big blind, where the small blind checks the big blind on the flop, and the big blind just fires 3 streets, sort of regardless what comes out, and occasionally you'll get called down extremely lightly by the small blind, who doesn't care that there's 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush out there, and 2 overcards that hit the turn in the river. They're still going to be calling down because they understand how wide the big blind's bluffing range probably is here. So definitely watch out for this. And I think one of the best adjustments you can make here is that most players, once they check the flop as the pre-flop raiser, are completely polarized. Either they're doing it with complete garbage, which means they're already ready to fold, which means your half pot bluff is going to be paying off in dividends really well, or they're doing it with the intent of calling down, and therefore bluffing 1 street and then shutting down a lot of the time is going to be the best hand, or the best card. Situations where there was 2 flush out there and then the flush completed on the turn, those are going to be situations where I'm probably going to be really likely to triple barrel, but this just wasn't my favorite spot. Particularly considering I thought Ace-King would be a lot of his range. He called down with as weak as Ace-Jack, which is a little surprising. I would probably just be c-betting Ace-Jack and probably check calling Ace-King and Ace-Queen a certain amount, as well as c-betting those hands sometimes as well.